Hey everyone, it's Tesla Tom here. Thank you so much for joining us today on Ludicrous Feed. And have I got some breaking news for you today, Wednesday, 30th of August, 2023, here in Australia. And the article in The Driven, written by my good friend Riz Akhtar, who joins us regularly on our Ludicrous Feed live streams. Tesla opens up nearly half of its supercharger sites in Australia to non-Tesla EVs. Now we know that up till this point that there were 5 pilot supercharger sites in Australia that were open to non-Tesla EVs. Now they've expanded it to nearly half its supercharger sites. There's actually 30 altogether. We'll go through this article first, and then I'll go through my Tesla app and show you how to access these Tesla superchargers if you are in a non-Tesla EV. Okay, so let's have a look at this article. So let's go through it. Tesla, Australia's best-selling EV brand, has opened up nearly half of its 63 supercharger sites in Australia to non-Tesla owners in a major boost to the traveling plans of electric vehicle owners. The company has made 30 of its 63 sites nationally open to non-Tesla EVs following a trial program that, as I mentioned earlier, that began in January with 5 pilot sites in New South Wales were open to non-Tesla EVs. These included Bathurst, Dubbo, Hollydean, Narooma, and Tamworth. And there's a picture that is included from my trip to Bathurst with the BYD ATTO 3. You can check out that video. I'll leave a link in the description below where I tested the BYD ATTO 3 on a Tesla Supercharger. The full list of sites available to non-Tesla EVs is detailed at the end of the article, but it excludes some of the heaviest used sites along major highways and within major population centers. And I'll show you that in my app walkthrough as well. The move will be welcomed by the EV community, particularly given that the Tesla network is clearly the most reliable with an uptime of more than 99.5%. That is unbelievable, isn't it, compared to the other third-party charging sites? The Tesla sites have multiple charging bays, which is fantastic, meaning that outside of peak holiday periods, there is rarely any queues. That's important to note too. Holiday periods, there are sometimes queues, even at Tesla Superchargers. Tesla plans to monitor utilization trends and get feedback on usage after the new sites become available to more drivers so it can manage potential congestion at supercharger sites. All the sites are powered by renewable energy. Tesla founder CEO Elon Musk has previously said that the company aims to open various parts of the technology and infrastructure it develops to support the transition of EVs and cleaner energy. At an earnings call back in 2021, Musk said, "I think we do want to emphasize that it is our goal to support the advent of sustainable energy. It is not to create a garden or walled garden and use that to bludgeon our competitors, which is sometimes used by some companies." So he did promise that back in 2021. I remember that walled garden was a famous quote of his, and he is true to his promise that is now open to some chargers are now open to non-Tesla EVs. The latest news will allow thousands more EV owners and drivers to travel further, reducing the charger and range anxiety faced by many drivers when doing road trips and around many parts of Australia. Okay, so yes, you do need to download the Tesla app to access these chargers. You need to download version 4.18.0 or higher for iOS and Android and create a Tesla account. And we'll go through how to do this in my app run through. But these are the Tesla Supercharger sites now open to non-Tesla EVs, and by my count, there are actually 4 states. So that's Queensland, New South Wales, Victoria, and South Australia, and 1 territory, which is the ACT. So you've got Tuggeranong, and then 3 in South Australia. I've been to the Tailem Bend one. That's quite a good one. And I would say the majority of them are probably in New South Wales at the moment, all the way from Berry. Campbelltown in Sydney is probably my closest. I'll show you on the app, and Blaxland probably too as well in the Blue Mountains. And Wollongong is probably my next closest after that. And then there's some in Queensland as well. So Gympie, Rochdale, Toowoomba. And then the next most populous is probably Victoria, from Bendigo, which I've been to as well. Colac I've been to. And Mornington, Shepparton, I've been to as well. Warrnambool I've been to as well. Oh, I'm sorry, WA is there too. My apologies. So actually, all the major states, which is great. Except for Tasmania, unfortunately. So we've got Queensland, New South Wales, Victoria, South Australia, and WA. So Margaret River and Williams as well in WA. Okay, so thank you, Riz, for that article. And I'll just give me 1 second. Let me just open my Tesla app, and I'll show you how this works. So let me just stop the screen. Okay, so this is my Tesla app, which you need to download, of course, to get this working. And in the top right corner, you'll have your profile there. So let me click that. Okay, from here, you just scroll to the right and you'll see charge your non-Tesla. So let's go to that. And then from here, your Tesla app will continue to populate your map with charging locations available to non-Tesla EVs. So for example, on this screen here, there are 4 dots or 4 pins on this screen that are open to non-Tesla EVs. There are more Tesla Superchargers around, but not available currently to non-Tesla EVs. And I'll show you my closest one as an example. So that would be probably this one here at Campbelltown with 12 stalls open, and they are 250 kilowatts, which is the V3 superchargers. And from here, you can see the busy times. For example, we'll see that 10 a.m. live, 11 a.m. currently, most chargers available. And Campbelltown is a fairly quiet location for now, although it's a very convenient location, as you may have seen in my recent Tesla road trip, because it's at the junction, uh, well, almost at the junction of the major motorways, the M7 and the M5 in Sydney, which means you can bypass Sydney if you want to get around Sydney to get to north or south of the city. Okay, so charging fees, most importantly, it is 78 cents per kilowatt hour for non-Tesla EVs, which is on the expensive side, I know, compared to, say, ChargeFox or EV. They're closer to 60, 65 cents per kilowatt hour. Why are they so expensive, you ask? Well, look, most non-Tesla EVs probably won't use the Tesla Supercharger network as their first go-to. However, this is a fantastic backup if, for example, another third-party charging provider is down, which unfortunately is often the case. Tesla Supercharger, as we saw in Riz's article, has 99.9 or 99.5% uptime, which is fantastic. So if your first option, for example, say ChargeFox or EV is not working, then hopefully you'll have a close supercharger to hop over to. You'll pay a bit more, but this is a fantastic backup. And for me personally, I'd be happy to pay to get back on the road. Idle fees, just keep note, be careful with idle fees. So I'll just read this out. So it's $1 a minute. For every additional minute a car remains connected to the supercharger, after it has finished charging, it will incur an idle fee. If the car is moved within 5 minutes, the fee is waived. Idle fees only apply when a supercharger station is at 50% capacity or more. Idle fees double when the station is at 100% capacity. So at 50% capacity, if you leave your car there plugged in, finish charging, it'll be 50 cents per minute. If it's 100% capacity or all stalls taken, then it's $1 a minute, which I think is quite fair because you want increased turnover. You don't want cars to camp there. You want to allow other cars to charge because DC chargers are still a scarce resource at the moment. Okay, so there's the address there. You can click that to navigate your way there from your app or your phone. And you can see there are toilets, there's a place to eat, there's coffee or drinks, and there's a place to stay as well. So there's the amenities nearby. You can pay less for the membership. So if you want to reduce that fee from 78 cents per kilowatt hour, if you use DC chargers often, this is what you do. Click that learn more. And you can see by paying $9.99 a month, you can pay less for the membership. And it reduces the fee from 78 cents per kilowatt hour as a non-member all the way down to 63 cents per kilowatt hour as a member. So I think it might be worth it if you road trip often for work or pleasure or whatever, and you want to have a backup like the Tesla Supercharger network. 63 cents, by the way, is what I pay as a Tesla owner and what anyone else pays as a Tesla owner. We're automatically members of this program. We don't have to pay this $9.99 a month as an EV or as a Tesla owner. But if you're a non-Tesla EV owner, you still have to as well. And as a note, if you own a Tesla as well as a non-Tesla EV, so for example, a Polestar or BYD as a second vehicle, your fee is still 78 cents per kilowatt hour. The Tesla system does not recognize your Polestar or BYD or non-Tesla EV as part of your app, for example, so to speak. So you've still got to pay 78 cents. You've got to pay that membership $9.99 a month to reduce that rate down to 63 cents. So that's just a note. All right, let's have a look at the app. And so if I just zoom out, so it'll populate with more chargers. So if I just keep zooming out, for example, it can give you a good idea of where the chargers are and gives you an idea of where this sort of ongoing trial is at the moment. So let's have a look at the eastern states, New South Wales, Victoria, Queensland. Now, the major route is the Hume Highway, and that's between Sydney, Gundagai, Albury, into Victoria, into Melbourne. So you can see if I just zoom in on that Hume Highway, which is that road that goes through Albury, there's actually no Tesla Superchargers that is open to non-Tesla EVs, and I think that's been done deliberately to I think prevent potential congestion at these really heavily used sites. So at the moment, there's one in Wodonga, there's one in Gundagai, one in Goulburn, and those sites can be quite busy because the Hume Highway is a major thoroughfare between Sydney and Melbourne. So I think it's been deliberately done where there's no Tesla Superchargers between that highway. And similarly between Sydney and Brisbane, the coastal road is the Pacific Motorway. And you can see, I know from memory, there is one at the Central Coast, Newcastle or Heather Brae, Port Macquarie, Coffs Harbour, and Maclean as well. And they are not usable as non-Tesla EVs. Whereas there's one at Knockrow now, which is, I think, arguably probably not as well utilized because of McLean, and it's a better site. Whereas Knockrow is kind of more in off the beaten track, or off the main Pacific motorway. Um, and all I've checked through today, all the fees are 78 cents per kilowatt hour, and most of the superchargers are 63 cents flat rate if you become a member as well. Okay, so that's kind of a snapshot. If I just go into Queensland there, you can see there's some more chargers that populate up there in Brisbane, and also up towards the Sunshine Coast and inland as well. And then in Victoria, there's some more here too. Interestingly, you can actually possibly get from Sydney to Melbourne on the Coastal Road or the Princes Highway. I think possibly there could be one. If you really wanted to depend on the Tesla superchargers, you could. You might get stuck between, I think this is Can River and Mo. But otherwise, there's one at Narooma here. And then there's one here up here. I think that's Berry. So yeah, you could certainly get that far. It's between Mo and Can River is 300 kilometers, so you could potentially make it as well. And if I move into South Australia here, I'll just let the app populate a bit more. Okay, so between Melbourne and Adelaide, there are certainly options here. So we've got Warrnambool down on the coast there. And then you've got, I think it's Mount Gambier there. So 6 stalls there. Nothing inland, which is interesting, which is the main road, obviously. I think Horsham is one of the stops, and Keith, normally I've used those two before. So nothing on the main thoroughfare between Melbourne and Adelaide, but certainly on the coast, you can go that way. And then some more in South Australia, as you can see. I'll just let the app do its thing. Okay, so up there in Clare, there's 4 chargers there. And then I'll just go into Western Australia for completeness sakes. Sorry, it is a little bit buggy. Just gotta let it wake up a bit. Okay, so there we go. There's 2 locations, as Riz's article said in the Driven there for Western Australia. So they haven't left you guys out on the west coast there. So there we go. New South Wales, Queensland, Victoria, South Australia, WA, and Northern Territory. And if you want a list of the superchargers, and by the way, there are also AC chargers that are open also to non-Tesla vehicles too. But if you want the supercharger locations, they are in red location pin. And there's a mix of V3, which is the 250 kilowatt ones, and also V2, which is the old 130 kilowatt chargers. So yeah, there's a mix of between the 2 types of superchargers. And it'll be very interesting to see what happens as we head into, I guess, busy periods, particularly over the summer when these superchargers do tend to get busy. It'll be good, I think, for non-Tesla EVs doing the road trips. Obviously, there's some talk of Tesla owners getting a bit upset because now it's open to everyone, increasing the queues. Let's see if that actually is reality. Like I said, these are expensive options for non-Tesla EVs when you can use ChargeFox or EV or other third-party providers which are cheaper. This is certainly a great backup. I certainly don't want to see any non-Tesla EVs or Tesla EVs in general getting stuck somewhere because they can't charge. I've seen that happen before. I've seen, for example, a Mercedes EV get stuck in Goulburn. They were trying their hardest to get the Tesla supercharger to work because the nearby third-party charger wasn't working. So yeah, I think for the fairness and for the safety of everyone, it's good that now Tesla is opening this to everyone, all Tesla EVs, for at least 30 Tesla Supercharger locations here in Australia. All right, everyone, that's my walkthrough of the Tesla app showing new Tesla Superchargers, 30 of them, in fact, almost half, open now to all EVs, Tesla and non-Tesla EVs. So thanks so much for watching. Make sure you leave a comment below. Give me your feedback, both as a Tesla and non-Tesla owner, what you think about this. I'll leave a link also to Riz's article in the Driven, and also my BYD charging at the Bathurst Tesla Supercharger experience for your reference. Thank you so much. Until the next Ludicrous video, this is Tesla Tom. Happy charging.